There are relatively few games of which I have a distinct memory of first playing, but Shenmue is definitely one of them. I was 19 and visiting my friend living in Tooting. He had a Dreamcast and a game with which I was as yet unfamiliar, Shenmue. As soon as I started playing I was hooked, and an intended one-night visit soon turned into 4 days, during which time I played the game solidly. For those unfamiliar, Shenmue was a huge open world game featuring RPG elements and fighting segments, and pioneered many gameplay elements like QuickTime events. The openness of the game world was a huge deal back in 2000 and quite the shock to me, as remember this was before the likes of Grand Theft Auto 3 hit the shelves. I think that part of the magic of the game was the pace. Shenmue's world doesn't fly past you at breakneck speed like many modern games. The game's pace is slow and deliberate, and that just adds to the sense of immersion. You really feel like you're experiencing day-to-day life in the city. Sadly, I think the slow pace of the game, particularly at the start, puts many people off nowadays, but perseverance will grant the player a rewarding experience. The world is entirely self-functioning, with people going about their daily routines, buses and shops operating on timetables, and a day-night cycle passing daily. Another immediately striking element was that the main character Ryo Hazuki can partake in mundane pastimes as well as his story-related tasks, such as playing at arcades or working a job, as well as repeating tasks over and over again to learn new skills, such as training to learn new fighting techniques. To cut a long story short, the story follows teenage Ryo's pursuit of Lan Di, a man who kills his father at the first game's start and steals an item called the Dragon Mirror. The second game, Shenmue 2, continues on from the first game, with Ryo arriving in Hong Kong hot on the trail of Lan Di. The series was conceived and produced by Sega legend Yu Suzuki, who recently crowdfunded a third installment in the series on Kickstarter after a surprise announcement at E3 2015, which I gladly backed. This led to fans going absolutely crazy, and the campaign broke records by reaching $1 million in under 2 hours, and its $2 million goal in under 9, eventually ending on 6.3 million. A clear indication that fans really want to see the next step in Ryo's journey. So until Shenmue 3's release, you can brush up on your Shenmue trivia with these 10 facts. Shenmue originally started out as a Virtua Fighter RPG, not Virtual Fighter, people. Yu Suzuki intended the game to be a fully realised RPG story centred around Virtua Fighter's Akira. The similarities in appearance between Shenmue's Ryo Hazuki and Virtua Fighter's Akira Yuki have been widely noted, and some even believe them to be the same person. QuickTime events aside, the fighting elements in Shenmue are akin to the Virtua Fighter games, and this continued after Shenmue 2 with the Yakuza series, which is considered by many to be Shenmue's spiritual successor. Shenmue originally began life on the Sega Saturn, before eventually finding a home on the console's successor, the Dreamcast. The game cost a reported $70 million to develop, although this figure was later found to be an exaggeration. The real figure was closer to $47 million, and this has even been rumoured to include the development of both Shenmue games and the initial development costs for the Saturn version. In Shenmue, in Ryo's house, you'll find a Saturn by his TV. Seeing as Shenmue is set in 1986, this is perhaps a nod to the game's Saturn beginnings. One nice feature of Shenmue 2 was the ability to import your save file from the first game, carrying over any items and stats obtained. As most North American Dreamcast fans will know, the US version of Shenmue 2 for the Dreamcast was cancelled not long before it was due for release, as Microsoft obtained exclusive rights to release the game solely for the Xbox in the States. In Europe, we did get Shenmue 2 for the Dreamcast, which contains the original Japanese audio with English subtitles. This has led to the PAL version being sought after stateside as well as in Europe, although sadly it won't recognise the save file from a US copy of the first game, which ruins one of the game's most attractive features for any US Shenmue fans. Lan Di, the main antagonist in the Shenmue series, was originally called Hei Long, which translates to Black Dragon. He originally had a hairstyle much like a lion's mane, but due to its number of polygons it proved to be too processor intensive, and so was changed to his signature tied style. Both Shenmue and Shenmue 2 contain bad endings, which the player encounters if they take too much time playing the game. In the first game this happens on the 15th of April 1987, and in Shenmue 2 on June the 31st. These mean it's game over for the player. In Shenmue, Ryo will enter the Hazuki residence to find his live-in buddy Fukusan getting a right old beating from Lan Di. Lan Di then turns his attentions to Ryo, informing him that he has discovered the existence of a second mirror, and promptly gives Ryo an epic beatdown. In the sequel, Lan Di appears once again to end the story. The word Shenmue is an amalgamation of the Chinese words Shen and Mu, meaning holy tree, and the specific tree that's at the centre of the story of the games. Shenfa, the girl who Ryo dreams about and subsequently meets in the sequel, is the name of the tree's flower. The Nightfall theme, that indicates it's past Ryo's bedtime, is an arrangement of the popular Outrider Crisis from Yu Suzuki's arcade classic Super Hang-On. As any Shenmue fan will know, many of Yu Suzuki's past games were available to play in the two games' arcades, including the aforementioned Hang-On, Outrun and the Space Harrier. In the Japanese version of Shenmue, the Ghetto Blaster wielding member of the Heavens Gang, Cool Z, was originally called Cool J. For the European release this was changed to Cool Z in fear of a potential lawsuit from rapper LL Cool J, or perhaps due to the worry that LL would knock Yu Suzuki out at the behest of his mother.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. I'm rocking my pants, putting suckers in fear, making the tears rain down like a monsoon. Listen to the bass go boom, explosion.
In the original Japanese version of Shenmue 2, high-ranking member of the Yellow Head Gang, Yuan, was an effeminate gay transvestite, crossing obviously female looks with a distinctly male voice.
私の部屋には紫が似合うのよね。
When the game was brought to Europe, the character was changed to be a female and was dubbed over with a woman's voice.
Purple would be the perfect color to go with my room.
Interestingly, although the game didn't end up getting a US release, the Western translation, and therefore the PAL version, was done by Sega of America. The English subtitles don't always match what the characters are actually saying either. For example, when Ryo is describing Yuan to some kids, the on-screen text displays "she wears a purple vest", whereas the actual translation is hilariously "looks like a female, dresses like a female, has a dick". Shenmue 2 contains one of the most complex hidden features ever, the duck races. Firstly, Ryo must talk to Izumi in the tomato convenience store, then talk to Eileen, who will be practicing in Pigeon Park. After talking with Eileen, Ryo must head to the Green Market Quarter, down an alley, into a doorway, to find an empty courtyard. Here Ryo finds a table, on which is, among other things, a bronze medal which he must take as the area will become inaccessible once left. After again talking to Izumi in the convenience store and then Eileen in Pigeon Park, Eileen will invite Ryo to spar with her, which he politely declines. Now head to the Pine Game Arcade in the Golden Quarter and attempt to access the third floor. A man will ask Ryo to pay a fee for entry, and once paid, Ryo will enter to find his opponent, none other than Eileen. Beating Eileen in a surprisingly difficult match will award him with a silver medal. Then Ryo can return and re-enter after paying another fee. This time your opponent is Izumi. Beat Izumi in an even harder match and she'll tell Ryo to meet her at the tomato convenience store to show him something interesting. As if this wasn't complicated enough already, Ryo must now head to the Manmo temple and catch 2 falling leaves at once, which then triggers a duck feather to fall, which he must also catch. Upon catching the feather, Ryo strikes the tree, causing a duck to fall. Now Ryo has his own duck. Return to Izumi and she will take Ryo to the duck races, where he can use his player controllable duck to compete in races and eventually win the gold medal. Whew. So those were my 10 Shenmue facts. Let me know in the comments if you knew any or all of them, and are you excited for the release of Shenmue 3? Thanks for watching.
I gotta give him, the funky rhythm, Let me take you on a trip. Let me take you on a ride.